Aloha, everyone. Let me just get my screen share up. Okay, and I'm just going to make sure that my phone over here is all set up so I can receive text messages. Welcome. It's 5 p.m. here. I'm back home. Oh, hang on. Let me shut the window over here. There we go. I got my windows open just to kind of cool off my office just a little bit, make sure that everything's nice and comfortable. And how are you guys doing this evening? We're still waiting for a few more people to log in. Let me just scroll through the list here. Aditi's on. That's awesome. I'm scrolling through the list really fast. Holy cow, Barry's on. Barry is in Perth. So I got someone from Perth. There's Connie, David. Nice. Hey, David. Who else do we have on here? Evelyn. Hey, Irene. Irene's over in California. Sweet. I think I just saw Jacqueline. I am scrolling through here at light speed. So if I miss your name, Maria's on here. Mark, my Malo brother, is on here. Mr. Huna himself danced hula with me. Who else do we have? Sachiko up in Seattle. Hey, Sachiko. Wow, man, we got a lot of people on here. This is awesome. Thank you guys for joining. We had over 500, I think it was close to 600 people registered for this webinar. And not everyone can make it. We are recording, so if you're checking this out on the recording, welcome. Hope you guys are having an amazing evening. I just got back home yesterday. Took a nice late flight coming in, and I got my man Greg on here with me, and Greg's going to be helping out with any tech support once we get rolling. So how you guys doing this evening? You guys doing good? Tonight is going to be a fun webinar. It is absolutely one of my favorite topics to talk about, and it's going to be tough to keep it to an hour. You guys know me. I like to make sure that I keep things to about an hour, make it very clear and concise, and we'll do our best. Sometimes I get done a little bit earlier, get to answer some questions. If I get closer to the end of the hour, then, hey man, this is a lot of content to go through. So for those of you that haven't met me, my name is Dr. Matt James, and I've been doing NLP for a while. I think I'm 44 this year, so that would make it about 33 years. Did my first training when I was really young, became a master trainer, became a doctor of psychology, and this webinar tonight is your guys' pick. I love to, in webinars when we have a whole bunch of topics to choose from, to do a poll to let you guys jump on that, and here's what you wanted to hear. You wanted to hear about empowerment. So let's get started. It's a 5:03 over here. So let me get the slides rolling. There we go. You should be able to see the slides now. Let me just make sure that everything is all set up. Awesome. So you guys are seeing the slides. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you haven't joined up with us on Facebook already, and you type in Dr. Matt, D-R-M-A-T-T, with a space in between the doctor and the Matt, then that can help you find me. My personal one is at the bottom. These are the URLs, so if you type it in a web browser, if you're having trouble, then you can type either one of these in and you guys will be able to find me. And you must already be on our database for NLP.com. That's our database. I also have a blog right over there. And by the way, if I keep pointing over there, for some of you, I think the slides are there. For some of you, the slides are there. They're there. I don't know where your slides are. But I'm just going to point. So if you all haven't been on my blog yet, drmatt.com, make sure you check out my blog. There's a whole section there on research. I put up all the articles that I write. I'm a regular blogger for Psychology Today and the Huffington Post. And so any of the blogs that I put up on Psychology Today, Huffington Post, they come over onto my blog. You guys get notifications for that. So another really good resource for you guys and just to help you out. So let's jump right into it. I know I only briefly introduced myself. That's just the way I do it. I want to spend more time on content. I know that there's a whole bunch of people on here. I always love to start off my webinar by saying, welcome, whether this is your first time hanging out with me or you're a long-time student like Sachiko, who's on here from Seattle. I think she's known me for well over a decade. So I have a wide range of students on here. I do my best to teach to everyone that's on here, and if it's brand new, I'm going to be moving with it. Now, the really good thing is it's recorded, and we have a ton of resources for you. If you go to my blog and you scroll down on the right-hand side, you can actually see all of the social networking things that we got going on. YouTube's on there. There are a ton of videos, older webinars that I've done that can help to catch you up and to help you I don't know, get more information, learn more about NLP. And at the end of the webinar, there's a gift that I got for you guys. I always like to give back, and so there's a gift for you guys at the end of this webinar. And before I get to that, though, let's get rolling. All right, the webinar tonight, simple title, From Excuses to Empowerment. Getting rid of your excuses, getting rid of your reasons for not having your life the way that you want, getting rid of the blame game, taking back some of your empowerment and really getting in charge of your results. I am a big fan of results. I am an absolute fan of how can I maximize results in life and truly get the best out of it. I'm not going to always get it right. I'm not going to get it perfect. Here's what I do know. I'm going to use the tools and techniques that I have to shed myself of my shed myself of my reasons, to shed myself of my excuses, and bring in as much responsibility and results as possible. I've learned one simple thing, you guys. One simple thing. Let me slow down for a second here, because I know I get all cranked up on a webinar. I don't know why, but let me slow down here for a second. I think one thing that people really want in life is happiness. I think everything just boils down to happiness. You want happiness in your relationship. You want happiness in your career. You want happiness in your health and fitness. And so many people focus on happiness. How can I become more happy with myself, with what I do, with my family? And happiness is an emotion that comes from achieving a specific result. That result that you get brings you happiness. And when you're not getting that result, or you're getting the result for someone else, you're not experiencing the happiness that you want in life. And that feeling of happiness, when you're able to share this with others, when you're able to talk about it with them, it's just absolutely amazing. It changes how you communicate. It changes how you communicate with yourself. When you're happy with your life, or if you get more specific, with areas in your life, like your career, your relationship, your health, it's transformative. It literally changes your perspective on everything that's out there. You look at the world in a different light when you're happy, and people notice it. People straight up notice when you have a level of happiness in your life. You walk in and people see it. They say, my God, you look light. You look so happy. And all you can do is smile and say, yeah. Because in your mind, you might not know this clearly, but you achieved something. You got a result. You got a goal. You got a gift from the universe. And that just absolutely brings in such an amazing amount of happiness. There's things that have gone on in my life. And, I was talking with Greg before I started this webinar. And I have so many stories of cause and effect. I have so many examples. And in my live trainings, I talk about health and fitness a lot. I talk about how I weighed 235 pounds and had gone from an athlete to very overweight. And now I'm down to about 164 pounds and athletic again, and achieving the results. And I talked about how I would point that finger out there and blame other things. I would blame other people for the results that I was getting, my health and fitness. And ultimately, you don't get any results that way. Something that I haven't talked about a lot, and I want to share this with you guys. I began to run a K through 12 school. And when we were, the school had been around for, I think, about 18 years. And I was the head of the board, not running the school like the headmaster. I still had my job teaching NLP and going around the world. Just through a series of events, all of a sudden, I'm in charge of the board. I'm in charge of the board of directors of this K through 12 school. And I hired this amazing individual named John. And he came to run the school. My kids are going to the school. They love it. This school was my passion. I was getting to know the teachers. I would bring them over to my house and I would grill for them and just thank them. I was so appreciative of everything, and I was putting so much time and energy. And not blaming anyone, just telling you straight like it is, for 7 years this school was ran in the red. It was ran in the most horrific way. They had racked up 7 figures worth of debt. And ultimately, long story short, John and I went into the bank, and we had a property. We had, the land that the school was on and the facility that was worth way more than our debt. But the bank had been promised so many times that things would change, and they never did. And I did everything. I did absolutely everything that I could. Every negotiation skill, rapport skill. I mean, I had people from banks and lending institutes that were just straight up saying to me, I am so sorry. There's absolutely nothing that we're able to do. And you know what? God, I wanted to point my finger. I so wanted to point my finger. I wanted to point my finger at previous members. I wanted to point my finger at parents for not stepping up. I wanted to point my finger at the bank. I had every single person to blame. But when you blame, at the end of the day, you're not getting any results. You might feel better going to sleep. It's not my fault. It's not my thing. And I had to take a step back. And I had to say, I need to take responsibility. Well, I'm running the board. I need to do everything I possibly can. I sat down with John, the head of the school, and the two of us talked this out. And we talked about how we were the best people for the job. And we have exhausted every single possible avenue. And with this stuff that I teach, John looks at me and he says to me something so powerful. He says, we have no other options. That's not a cause and effect thing. That's not an empowerment thing. He says, we have done everything humanly possible. He said, what is there left to do? And I said, the only thing that we have left to do is get a result, and that is to sell the land, to sell the school, the property, to shut it down in the best way possible. And if we can make some profit, I said, we could open up a foundation. And he looked at me and he said, what an amazing thing. We'll be able to help out so many people if we're able to do that. And fighting back the tears, knowing that this man was about to be out of a job, my kids were about to have to change a school, I had to take back some responsibility. I had to take back ownership of this because we needed to take the situation and make it positive. That's called empowerment. I'm saying this to you, I'm sharing this with you because I want to talk to you about what I've been able to do or what I've been able to accomplish. The 158 people that are on this webinar, we all have instances where we have needed to take back what it is that we're going through. We've needed to take ownership of it and say, look, this is where we are right now. I have an opportunity to turn my life around, to kick it up a notch, to shed myself of these excess pounds, to make a difference in the community, in my relationship, anything. You can't do that unless you take back ownership, unless you take back empowerment. So let's talk about this. What are we covering in this webinar? We're covering three main things in this webinar, and they are the strategy for empowerment, the understanding how to avoid the blame game, and how to take back control over your results. Yeah? These three things are critical. The strategy for empowerment does not come from something that I made up. This concept that I'm sharing with you tonight, you can look at ancient cultures. You can look at early psychology. You can look at positive psychology. This is not a new concept. NLP, there's nothing new in NLP. NLP is about discovering how successful people operate and emulating that. And successful people do not accept their own excuses. Successful people do not accept other people's excuses. So what I'm sharing with you today is a strategy for success, the strategy to turn around the major areas of your life, a core foundation. When I teach practitioner trainings, there are four main themes that I share in the training. To begin every single training, the four main themes that I talk about are perception is projection, cause and effect, which is all about empowerment, mind-body energy, and the responsibility for change. These four things are the four big themes that we talk about. Tonight we're talking about theme number 2, empowerment. How do you as an individual become more empowered? Now, why would you want to become empowered? The reason why you would want to become empowered is because most people, most meaning the bulk of the individuals out there that you're going to meet, they spend their time in what I call the comfort zone or the gray zone. If right here, if you take a look at the slide, quality of life over time, that area, that bar right there in the middle, that's what you call the comfort zone, the gray zone. Above that, things are really awesome. And below that, things are really not awesome. They are the total opposite of awesome. Rock bottom, whatever it is that you want to call it. Right there in the middle, though, you got the gray zone. You got that kind of gray zone area where things aren't too bad, things aren't so great, they're okay. Many people experience life, and it kind of looks like this. You're just kind of cruising along there, everything's okay, not really ticking it up a notch, and man, sometimes things can get really bad. You can have that dip down there and just, you can hit 235 pounds of excess fat, where all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, how did that happen? Your career, you can be at rope's end, the bottom of the barrel, whatever analogy you want to use. You can hit really bad. You can hit amazing times too. God, you can hit such good times. Sharing special moments with someone, a friend, a family member, a loved one, where you're just feeling so happy, and it's just like it couldn't get any better. All of these things, any point during this path, it's important to be responsible, to take back that empowerment and realize in the good times, you're creating it. In the bad times, you have control over changing that. And as important as those two areas are, when you're in the gray zone, how do you kick it up a notch? How do you consistently create improvement in your life? The reason why understanding empowerment is so important is because, to me, stagnation is just as bad as those bad times right there. Living a life where you're in the gray zone is just as detrimental to, things going really bad. I want to find a way to constantly improve it. No, it's not going to jump leaps and bounds every single day, but it's going to grow. It's going to grow a bit more and more every day. And the other reason why this is so important is I've never met someone towards the end of their life. I get to meet a couple thousand people a year through webinars, and the live trainings, about 1,000 people every year. I get to meet so many people. I've never heard anyone at the end of their life, towards the end of their life, say to me, I followed my dreams, I followed my heart, I did all those things that I deeply desired. I lived life to the fullest. I've never heard anyone say all of those things and then go, man, that sucked. What a bummer. I've never heard anyone complain about following their heart. I've heard a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I've heard a lot of regret. And I teach some powerful techniques to help people let go of anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. We do our release techniques in our practitioner training now, helping people end the excuses, get rid of their baggage. I've never found a really good technique for getting rid of regret. You gotta live life to the fullest. And one of the ways to do that is to be totally empowered. So let's get into what we're talking about here. We're talking about learning how to align our conscious desires, with our behaviors. Kind of like the gray zone. Many people have this focus, they have this intention. Here's what I want to achieve. They consciously focus in on this. This is what I want to create in my life. And yet, their behavior, it doesn't even match their goal. I'm going to switch to a health and fitness example now. I used to, in high school, let's back up. In high school, I weighed 135 pounds. I was a varsity athlete. A few years later, I'm 100 pounds overweight. And never mind why, who cares why? The talk show host can ask why. Your friends and family members who want to gossip during the holidays, they can talk about why. I don't care about the why. Here's what I know. I consciously wanted to be healthy. And yet my behaviors were in the total opposite direction. Your behaviors come from your unconscious or your subconscious mind. This comes from cognitive psychology, NLP, hypnosis, you name it. The bulk of who you are is your unconscious mind. It's your subconscious. Your behaviors are rarely conscious, nor can they be consciously controlled. I want you to think about this for a moment. If behaviors could be consciously controlled, the smoker would go like this. I want to quit. Boom, the cigarette would hit the ground, they would stomp it out, and they would be done. It doesn't work that way. People who are desperate to quit, they keep lighting cigarettes up. I know there are exceptions to every rule. I know some of you might be sitting there, man, we're at 170 now. That's awesome. Thank you guys for showing up for this. 170 people on here. I guarantee you that there's someone on here that's sitting there saying, that's what happened to me. I just one day decided to quit. As a doctor of psychology, my guess is that there are extenuating circumstances, that something triggered that. The doctor told you you're going to die. Your wife said she's going to leave you if you don't quit. Fear is a huge motivator. I want you to acknowledge that for most people, not all, for most people who say they want to quit, 5-10 minutes later they're lighting up the next cigarette. Why does that happen? Our conscious mind is the goal getter, and our conscious mind is the goal setter, and our unconscious mind is the goal getter. What that means is that our conscious mind sets the goal. Here's what I want to achieve. But your unconscious mind is the thing that gets you there. See, I tapped out at 235 pounds. We have now incorporated health and fitness into the Empowerment Partnership. For those of you that are new here, the Empowerment Partnership is the name of my company. The Empowerment Partnership is the company, and we teach 4 major aspects to health. We teach energy work, we teach NLP for mind, we teach MER for emotions, and we talk about health and fitness now, specifically fitness, how to become fit, the best shape of your life. There I was 10 years ago, 235 pounds. And I tell you, I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be healthy, I wanted to be fit, and my behaviors were the total opposite. I'd sit there, I'd order dessert, I'd lick the plate clean. I would say I shouldn't be eating this, and I'd eat it. I'd say I should stop eating this, and I'd finish it. I would say I should never eat this again, and I would go to the store and buy it. You guys all have examples of this. I know you do. We all do. This idea that I'm sharing with you right now, this idea of empowerment, it's not a technique. It's a theme. It's a concept. It's an idea that when you have this idea, the mindset helps with everything else you do. I care what trainings you take. More importantly than what trainings you take, if you understand this theme, the techniques that you already know, the techniques that you already practice, what you're already familiar with becomes more powerful. So I want to share with you what empowerment is all about. I want to share with you and talk to you about empowerment, talk to you about the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people. I want you to realize the entire time as we get more specific with this, the idea of empowerment is not a technique. There's no technique where it says, boom, you're empowered. It's every other technique that you do. NLP, MER, HUNA, you name it, whatever else you do adds to your empowerment. So in other words, this is a theme, this is an idea, and the more you're able to wrap your mind around this, the easier it is for you to practice the other techniques that you know. So the idea of empowerment boils down to this simple concept. You have cause and you have effect. Now I know, for those of you that have done trainings with me, and I think I recognize a couple names on here of people who just did Austin. I just got back from Austin, and I think there's a couple names on here, people that rocked it in Austin. I'm seeing a lot of hellos. Holy cow. Those, man, I can see the questions over here on the side, and everyone's saying hi and whatnot, and awesome. Thank you guys for being here. We're up to 174 now. But anyway, let's talk about cause and effect. I need something to drop. Oh, here we go. I'm not using the marker, but here's a marker. This is the example that I do in every one of my trainings. This is cause, that's effect. Sorry if that was loud, the microphone's right there. Cause, effect. If I keep picking up that pen and dropping it, that's cause and effect. That's from a physics standpoint. That's from a, every action creates an opposite and equal reaction. From a psychology perspective, it's slightly different. From a psychology perspective, the concept of cause and effect is measured based on the idea of reasons versus results. And this comes a little bit more from cognitive psychology. So hear me out for a second. On the cause side of the equation, you realize that you are in charge of your results. And any mathematician on here, I apologize. I know it's not an equation, but just follow along with me. On the cause side of this concept, you have results, meaning that you realize that you're in charge of your results. On the effect side of this concept, you have reasons. So how you measure the level of empowerment that you have has everything to do with reasons versus results. Let me say this again now. Every action that you take creates a specific result. Everything that you do, everything that you think, every thought you have, every word that comes out of your mouth, all of these things produce a result. Those results, either you realize that you have a hand in these results, that you have some sort of level of empowerment here, or you're pointing your finger out and you're saying, it's not my fault, it's that person's fault over there, and you're finding reasons why you don't have the results. I apologize if this is a little bit in your face. I'm going to give you a few examples because I think it's really important for you to appreciate this theme. Let's go with a career example. Here's a career example. Economy. How did the stock market do today? I don't know. Did it go up? Did it go down? The weird thing about webinars is that I would really love a response right now, but I'm looking at a green dot right there. So anyway, I'm thinking that you guys are at least sitting there, and some of you know whether the stock market went up or down. I don't care whether the stock market went up or down or not. Here's my point. How many of you ever known someone that has lost money in a bad economy? Sure, everyone. How many of you have ever known someone that has made money in a perceived good economy? That's usually everyone. Then when I'm asking a group, how many of you have ever known someone that's lost money in a good economy? Hands go up. And I said, and now finally, how many of you have ever known someone that has made money in a bad economy? And all the hands go up, and they're like, okay, you kind of get this. Are you ready? The stock market can be going down, it can be going up, it can be going sideways, it can be going whatever direction you want. Here's what I know. Successful people don't look at the stock market or the economy as a reason why things aren't going well for them. Successful people with money, successful people with career, they see opportunity and an ability to change their perspective based on how the economy is going. In fact, the bulk of the wealth, some of the richest families on the planet began their wealth and or made a ton of wealth during the Depression. Yeah, and I know, and I'm not going to agree with the philosophy of, you know, making money off of other people's misery. I disagree with that, and I avoid that type of behavior. My whole point in sharing this with you is that when you are at cause, when you give up your reasons, that's getting from the effect side to the cause side of this concept, and your reasons disappear, that's what we describe as being empowered. That the economy is no longer some reason why you don't have money. The economy is no longer some reason why things aren't going well. And my heart goes out to you if the economy has affected you. My parents lost half of their retirement and are still working to this day. They should have been retired years ago. And so, yeah, no, I get it. I got caught in a couple of houses that just recently came back up again. And I know people that made money in all of these different scenarios. Successful people don't accept excuses. Successful people do not accept reasons. They go for results. So how do you get results? I'll get to that in a moment. The first thing that you got to do, though, is you got to realize this concept that any given moment you need to ask yourself, what side are you on? Are you focused on results? Are you focused on reasons? Now, I have met some people that have, God, if they wanted to, they have the ability to play that excuse card. I mean, big time. One of my students who I consider a colleague, a friend, his name is Sean Stevenson, an amazing individual. When he was born, he had multiple bone breaks. He has soft bones. He was born with a specific disorder of the bone and his physiology. That the doctors took one look at him and said to his mom, he's not going to live very long. You know, you got to make your peace, and he'll be lucky to live even a short amount of time. In his life, I think he's had well over 200 bone breaks. He's a few feet tall. He's wheelchair bound. He's a keynote speaker. He's shared the stage with the Dalai Lama. Tony Robbins wrote the foreword to his book. He came and did Master Prac trainers training with me, went through our old degree program. What an amazing person. What an absolutely amazing person. And when he was sitting in my audience, I'm doing this talk on cause and effect, on empowerment. And I thought if I didn't kick it up a notch, if I wasn't really clear on this, it would be doing everyone in the room a disservice. And so I shared. I said, there are some people that, man, they could make excuses if they want to. And truly, the most empowered people on the planet, the ones that I've gotten to hang out with that are game changers, that are life changers, they don't accept excuses. They don't accept reasons. They take 100% responsibility. Just take it and they own it. And they make a difference. They get results. I got done doing my talk, and Sean comes up to me, this big grin on his face. He rolls his wheelchair right up to the front of the stage. I get off the stage. I sit down in the front of it. I say, man, Sean, I was sweating, man. My butt was like in a full flop sweat. I said, Sean, man, I brought it for that one. And he goes, nah, I know you did. He goes, I took some notes. He said, because I can get up on stage. This is Sean. Sean goes, I can get up on stage and look at everyone in the audience and go like this. What excuses do you have for not living your life to the fullest? Because I got a bunch. I got 200 and something breaks. I got this wheelchair. I have an inability to get out of it. I got limitations. He said, what excuses do you have? Because he goes, I'm living life to the fullest. What's stopping you guys? He looked at me, man, and he said, my next series of keynote speeches could just totally be based on this concept right here. He goes, I took down some notes. I gave him this huge hug, and I said, thank you so much. I said, I always share from my heart. And he goes, I know. And we had this beautiful discussion. I would never tell someone in the middle of a difficult situation, you somehow created this. You somehow made this happen. No, that's not the appropriate thing to say. Here's what I know. I've been through some pretty bad things in my life. Nothing that could compare to some of the things that you guys have gone through. This isn't to measure the bad times. This isn't to measure the good times. I've been through things that for me were difficult. So difficult that I wanted to get into that blame game. I love the country that I live in. I'm looking out at this view that I have here in Hawaii. What a beautiful view. To be able to see the ocean, to see the sunset, to live a life where I can travel around and teach. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And we can all agree that in every country, in every place around this planet, there are some people that are so linked into the system that it's just easier. It's easier to blame. It's easier to be at effect. It's easier to make the excuses. In San Diego, I'm going to be in San Diego pretty soon. I'm going to be in San Diego, I think, in 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm going to be going to San Jose and San Diego. Going to have a nice road trip down to San Diego and get to hang out there for a little while. It'll be nice. I was in San Diego a couple of years ago, and I did a demo with a guy who had post-traumatic stress disorder, a former Marine, and I said to him, I would love to do a demonstration and help you let go of your post-traumatic stress disorder at the end of the training. And God, if any of you were there for that, go ahead and just pop some message over here in the question thing. If you guys were there for it, I know a handful of you might have been there for this. I do this demonstration with him, and before I did, I started talking to him about this, and he looked at me and he said, I want to let this go, but if I do, I won't get my paycheck from the government for my disability anymore. If all of a sudden I no longer have PTSD, I no longer have these migraines, I won't get a paycheck. I'm shocked, right? Because from my perspective, don't you want to let this baggage go? Don't you want to let this awful experience go? And instead, what he's focused in on is a paycheck. I was shocked. And yet, that's the system that we've built, that if things aren't going well, there are some states, there are some countries, not just ours. I'm not bagging on America. I'm just saying there are some places on this planet where you will get money for maintaining your excuses. God, look, I want to say this again from my heart. If anything, if you've ever been injured and you deserve the, whatever it is that you get for that injury, for how you've been hurt. I've met people who've had money stolen from them and they're going through a lawsuit. And you know what? I agree. I agree that there are times where you deserve something back. Here's what I also know, though. I also know that if for the rest of your life you hold on to it and you point and you say, I would have had a happier life if not for that person right there, it takes you down a path of the blame game. Cause and effect is about learning how to take ownership. It's about learning how to say, I'm in charge of my results. And by the way, with the economy, you have no control over whether the stock market's going to go up or down tomorrow. You have no control over whether your kids are happy or not. I had a beautiful discussion with my daughter today on the way to school, just a short one. And I said, Skylar, you have to find some congruency in yourself to make yourself happy and be 100% congruent. And she said, how do I do that, Daddy? I said, well, first of all, you have to realize that you are 100% responsible for your happiness. If I was going to hop on a flight from San Diego, because that's the last place I'm going to in this next series of trainings that I do, and I was going to fly all the way back home to Kona, I would want the pilot to be 100% responsible to getting me back home. I would want the pilot to take full responsibility, be 100% at cause. In life, some people, I'm going to get there, but my wife might derail me. I'm going to get there, but fast food owns me. I'm going to get there, but the economy. If you put those buts in there, it's putting excuses. I said anything less. I said, Skylar, and I was putting it in 8-year-old terminology. I hope you guys can appreciate that. For you guys, anything less than being 100% at cause, that leaves you with the opportunity to completely miss. I grew up on Oahu. Oahu is right over there, in that direction right there. And on the clearest day, I can't see Oahu, and it's only about 200 miles away. If you're 1% off course, if you are 99% sure you're going to get there, but you're 1% not sure, you could miss your goal by 600 miles. You need to be 100% responsible for your results. And when it's something like the economy, when it's something like the economy that's going on around you, or when it's someone else has a level of influence in your life, the best thing that you can do is be responsible for your reaction. That's cause and effect. Cause and effect is along a sliding scale. Let me explain this. On one side, you have things like the economy, where the stock market could drop tomorrow or it could go shooting up. Either way, you're in charge of your response. That's cause and effect. You can't control the stock market. You need to be in control of your response to it. Do you find another strategy? Do you find an opportunity to make success? On the other side of the spectrum, though, you have things like negative emotions, limiting decisions. You have these experiences that are totally internal. And from a cognitive psychology perspective, the things that are inside you, you have a greater level of control over them. If given the right technique, the opportunity to change things in your life, you have then that opportunity in your life to totally make a difference and get that happiness and get those results. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you is how to avoid the blame game. One of the ways of avoiding the blame game is this concept right here, and to rethink what cause and effect is. So when a person is flying, let's say from San Diego to Kona, and they get on the plane, they usually think it's a straight line. You know, they look at the map and they see the straight line from San Diego to Kona, and they go, oh, okay, that's how I get there. But yet, that's not the way the path is. The flight that I was just on, coming back home, I just came home yesterday, and the flight that I was on, it was from LAX to Kona. The initial part of the flight had some turbulence. I didn't hear the pilot get on and go, oh man, God, you know, I know you guys paid to be on this flight, and I know some of you are going home, and most of you are going on vacation, and God, I'm really sorry. There's some turbulence, and God, we should just turn around. You know what? Let's go. Maybe you've been on a flight where they turned around because it was really bad. Okay, I can appreciate that. 99 times out of 100, the pilot says, we have turbulence ahead. We have an obstacle. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a course correction. I'm going to change things. You see, in some areas of life, we don't accept obstacles as excuses. In some areas of life, we look at that obstacle as an opportunity to make a course correction. Here's what I mean by a course correction. Changing your thinking about, hey man, it's not just a straight line to get to my goal. I have to do whatever it takes, not just fly higher, fly lower. One time I got on a flight and it flew all the way up the coast of California, all the way up to San Francisco before heading back to Hawaii, because the pilot was so determined to get there that he was going to fly all the way up north to avoid a storm so that we would have a smooth ride. That's called rethinking obstacles. Obstacles are the things that allow you to become derailed. When you're flying from San Diego to Kona, all of the things that you do, your entire path becomes a part of where it is that you're going. This guy that I did the PTSD demo with in San Diego, he said to me outside, he said, I want to be free of this, and here's the deal. I have a huge obstacle. I make money from this. I had to get him to rethink what this money was. It was payment for suffering. And I said, I appreciate everything that you did for our country. I appreciate these things that you have helped us gain, freedom, our liberties and whatnot. And I don't want to get into political thing. I don't want to argue about wars or whatnot. You guys can have all your beliefs about it. I believe in supporting our vets. I believe in supporting the people that served, and both of my grandparents did. So I'm a big supporter of military personnel, people who are serving and have served. I looked at him and I said, you deserve more than this. I said, so let's rethink this. Let's look at this paycheck. What does this paycheck mean? What does this thing that you're getting give you? And if you look now and think all the way out into the future, imagine 10 years from now, how much money you've made, how much worse will your problem be? The migraines, the PTSD. I said, has it gotten worse since you've gotten back from Afghanistan? He's like, yeah. I said, how's it going to be in 10 years? What's going to be more important? The money that you had in the bank and the pain, or on the other side of it, if you actually let this go, if you give it up, but first giving up your excuse for having it, if you first give this up, in 10 years, how much more money would you be able to make? But never mind that, how better would you feel about your life? And he looked at me and he said, you're right. He said, maybe I won't make as much. Maybe it won't be tax-free. He said, but God, 10 years of this? And he's in his 20s. He's like, hell, if I get to your age. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute now, because I'm 40, right? He's like saying I'm old or something. But anyway, I looked at him, and when he got rid of the excuse of holding on to it, it didn't change the problem. He still had PTSD. He had to go through a release process, taking back ownership, taking back that control, giving up the blame game, and realizing, no, you didn't create every instance in your life. You didn't make all of these things happen like I'm making that pen drop. On some level, though, and I say this from my heart, on some level, everything that you experience in your life is for a reason. It's made you who you are. I wouldn't give up any of those awful times. I wouldn't give up some of the things that I have gone through in my life because they helped me to become the person that I am today. Everything that I have been through has helped me to become the individual that I am. And no, at the time where I'm face down in the dirt and life is at the lowest point, that's not the time to think, oh, I should get to cause or I should give up my excuses. The moment I stopped blaming hotel food and hotel gyms for being out of shape and overweight, the moment I gave up blaming those people, huge difference in my life. Absolutely huge difference. So here's the deal. You need to begin to notice. Let's talk about how to deal with these things, how to take back that control. So for those of you taking notes, for those of you writing things down, I want you to write this down. There's some simple things that you can do. First and foremost, the first question that I ask myself is, with this situation where I'm wanting to point my finger at someone else and say, it's not my fault, it's your fault over there. In those instances, the first thing I got to do is I got to step back and ask myself, is there someone else who's going through this exact same thing who's taking ownership? And by ownership, I mean responsibility. At the very least, responsibility for your reaction. Okay, if it's a relationship issue, are you taking responsibility for how you react to it and what action you're taking? If it's a career, if it's a health and fitness, are you taking responsibility for what's going on in your life? You can't make your boss do something. I said to Skylar, you can't make your friends be a certain way. Are you taking responsibility for your reaction to it? Because there are people out there that can say negative things about you or positive things about you. The only thing you can be in charge of is your reaction. The only thing you can be in charge of is how you experience your emotions. The first thing you have to do is you have to ask yourself, number one, is there someone else who's handling this situation in a better way? Okay, if there is, number two, begin to get conscious. Get conscious of where you play the blame game. Begin to become aware of the languaging that you use. When you say to someone else, hey, why are you making me feel this way? To say you're making me feel a certain way is implying that they have some level of control over you, that they're able to do something to you, and that's just not the case. When you hear yourself say that, I want you to stop for a moment and pause and change that around. So the second thing is begin to hear your language. When you hear yourself saying, you're making me feel a certain way, or this economy is doing this to me, or my partner's doing this, whatever it is, hear yourself say that and realize that if you can flip that back on yourself, how am I choosing to react this way? Are there other ways that I would be able to react? That's going to begin to open up the opportunity for you to overcome these obstacles. And that's my third tip. My third tip is when you encounter an obstacle, I want you to reframe it. Reframing an obstacle is very simple. The word reframing, it's an NLP term, and here's what you do. When you hit an obstacle, you realize it's an opportunity for a course correction. When you hit turbulence in your life, when you got to make a change with the path that you're going down, that's an opportunity for you to experience a whole new you. When you have an opportunity that's in front of you that you're just absolutely going for and you realize it is going to make you happier than you have ever been, and yet maybe there's some bumps in the road, there's some obstacles in the way to getting there, you got to remind yourself that it's an opportunity for you to be flexible. It's an opportunity for you to know, oh, here's another way of looking at obstacles. Sometimes you don't know that you're closer to this goal unless you actually hit an obstacle, that you hit a bump. Maybe with some goals, you wouldn't know you were that much closer unless you ran into something and you needed to take a course correction. Because when you run into those things, it lets you know you're one step closer to getting there. You are one step closer to that happiness that you so truly desire. And if you just look at this obstacle in a different way and you go, this is my opportunity to learn more about myself and gain a greater level of flexibility, that opportunity that presents itself to you as an obstacle becomes a lesson, an opportunity for you to learn. The school that I had to shut down, God, that was a difficult situation, to say the least. Absolutely difficult. I had to face so many things in my life at that point because truly I felt like I had failed. I wanted to blame the bank. I wanted to blame everyone else, parents, the previous board. And I'm sitting there at the office. I'm sitting there in John's office, and I look at him and I say, God. And he's never been to my training, but he has an idea of what I teach and read my blogs and got great rapport with this guy. Still, when I have an opportunity, I go to lunch with him. We text message and whatnot. And he says, if we can make a little bit of money selling this land, he says, we're no longer running a school, we're running a foundation. And rather than helping out 100 or so kids in a school, we can help out thousands of kids on this island and help them get to schools that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get to. He said, how exciting would that be? I said, there you go. We hit a huge obstacle. How can I rethink this? How can I rethink the opportunity? And it didn't make the situation easier. It didn't make the closing any happier. And now I run the board for a foundation that is poised to make a huge difference here on this island in Kona. That, to me, is cause and effect. No, it wasn't a perfect situation. No, it was completely opposite of what was intended. If I had blamed everyone else, maybe I wouldn't have gotten the same result. When I took responsibility for my reaction, realized I was hitting a huge obstacle. What is our ultimate goal? What are we going for? Reframe that, look at it in a different way. It created an opportunity, and an opportunity that I'm going to run with and run to. So let's summarize, and then I'll have some time for some questions. It looks like I got a whole bunch of questions. Wow, I think a lot of you are just saying hi. I'll probably go backwards in the questions here. But hey, let's summarize, and then I'll take questions, and then we'll talk about the gift that we got for you guys. So 3 things. Number 1, realize that you have the empowerment in your life, meaning that you already have it. It's already there. You got to find a way to uncover it. And there are so many different ways that you can uncover your empowerment, not just the stuff that I teach. Anything out there can truly help you uncover empowerment. In the end, reasons are not going to bring you any joy. They're not going to bring you happiness. When you have something that you love, that you desire, that you have so much joy, you got to just go for it. Shoulda, coulda, wouldas? No. I refuse to accept excuses. And I believe in harmony. I believe in harmony with the people around me and my family and you name it. And here's the deal, though. When you have something that you absolutely know is going to bring you happiness, God, you got to shed yourself of those excuses, of those reasons. Because at the end of the day, when you achieve that goal that you have, that happiness, that result, you're going to feel so good. And then finally, like I said earlier, the tips. Begin to hear your reasons now. Begin to hear them now and ask, if it's an excuse, you got to be honest with yourself. You truly have to be honest with yourself, because it is so much easier to just blame people. I will admit, it's easier to blame others. To take back responsibility, it takes courage. It does. And so I applaud any of you who do that. I do it in my life, and I do my best. Hang on just a second. I just got a text message from Greg. It's the only text message that I'm going to answer. I just want to make sure. Sweet. Greg said that there's a couple of questions that I can go through. And Greg, get all techie on me here. That's awesome. I don't know. How did you assign the question to me? Anyway, Greg assigned a question. I'm going to quickly scroll through them and see if I can find them. So let's take some questions. I hope this was a good webinar. It's 5:50 right now. So let's take a look. What questions do I have? Why do good leaders make you YouTube? Why good leaders make you feel safe, and how great leaders inspire action? Rob, thank you for that. Not really sure if that's a question though, but Rob, that's an empowering thing to say. I really like it. Got a lot of good things in here, good comments. Thanks for the empowerment. You're welcome. Let's see here, what else? Michelle says, I don't understand reframing. Michelle, I think maybe I answered this already. I think maybe as I began to respond to what reframing is looking at a situation in a different way. So rather than seeing it as an obstacle, you see it as an opportunity to learn. That's a reframe, taking a different viewpoint of it. Hope that helps out a little bit. Suzanne, how do you respond to leaders that shame and belittle staff? Suzanne, man, my heart goes out to you if you're working in an environment that's hostile or awful like that. Look, here's the deal. I'm a person of simplicity. Why are you still in that environment? And I know you may say to me, because you got to earn the money, and in today's economy, you're not going to walk away from a job. I can appreciate that. Burnout occurs because of one of two reasons. One, you're not making enough money for what it is that you're doing. You'll burn out. Number two, you're not doing what you're meant to be doing. And if you're working in an environment that's hostile, there's only so long that you can stay there. Here's what cause and effect is. Here's what empowerment is. Be responsible for your reaction to it, and find some way to see a light at the end of that tunnel. Create an exit strategy to get out of that environment, because you can't make someone do something. You can't. I teach NLP. I've been doing this stuff for 33 years. If I could get people to do things that they didn't want to do, I would be locked up and the stuff would be regulated. My daughter, she's 8. She's in 3rd grade. She's going through the phase where you're having to find yourself. You're having to find your own congruency. She's moving from mommy and daddy fix it to how can I fix it? And she said to me, she said, there's a few people in the class that are just not nice, Daddy. I said, what do you mean? She said, there's a bully in the class that anytime he can, he'll push someone. When they're watching a film or they're watching a video, he'll put their foot up against them. Doesn't matter if they say stop, he'll just keep doing it. Skylar says, I don't understand. I can't get him to stop. I said, you can tell the teacher. She says, I have. Everyone has, but he keeps doing it. Yeah, maybe I can go to the school, I can talk to them, and I can say, hey, but you know what? I know this kid. The background on his home environment and everything would break your heart. My heart goes out to him. It doesn't change the fact that my daughter is uncomfortable. I had to look at her and I had to say, Skylar, you have control over your reaction. Imagine if you lived in a life where you were unhappy and you came to school and you didn't have discipline and you didn't have these boundaries. I say, imagine what that would be like for you. And she looked at me and she said, I would be unhappy. And I said, okay. I said, can you sit away from him? Do you need to sit near him? She said, no. I said, okay, good. You got to move then. I said, but you can't get someone to do something they don't want to do. You can't make someone be someone that they're not. We've all learned that in some area of our life. Suzanne, I don't have a simple answer for you. That's a deep question. What do you do? The first thing is you control your reaction. The first thing is you take back a level of control on how you react to it. And then you got to get out of it. Or get into a space where you feel comfortable sharing it. Hey, this doesn't work for me. I've had to do that in areas of my life. Face it. Face it head on. Do it in a way that is from the heart. One simple thing is that if you approach a situation, whatever energy you begin a conversation with is most likely the energy that's going to have in the result. If you start off a conversation with bang, that's how it's going to end. 90-something% of the time, according to research on hostile communication. Hostile communication, hostile result. Cause and effect, empowerment, is controlling your response. I hope that helps. Mark, how do you deal with the consequence of being empowered? Mark, when you're empowered, that's an awesome thing. Help me out with that question a little bit. How do you deal with the consequence of being empowered? When you're empowered, I believe that there's a natural integrity that goes along with it. When you're empowered, and you can help other people. When I'm empowered and I'm in charge of my results, I can guide my daughter to gaining more control over her reactions, to her own happiness. Being empowered, if you have integrity, if you have ethics, if you have love and joy in your life, that's a positive thing. If you don't, then yeah, you can do negative stuff. And there are leaders and there are examples historically of people who were very empowered and did awful things with that. That's a whole nother discussion. I believe intention is huge. Being empowered is one step. My biggest thing and how I teach is doing it in a way that's ecological. Good for yourself, good for others, good for your community. So always when you operate through empowerment, do it from a positive standpoint. Then you don't have to worry about that. Let's see, what other questions do I have? Hey, Alexander, looking forward to seeing you in Portland. I haven't been to Portland for 2 years, man. That is going to be awesome. For those of you in Portland, get the word out there. We are going to be in Portland in April. Alexander, is that right? We're going to be in April? I think we're going to be there in April. Do you know of any way to take action on goals? Waking up at 5:30 and going to the gym, for example, or going out and selling anyway. This is from Lewis. Lewis, man, how you doing? I think this is the Lewis that I know. Are you the Lewis that I know? I think you are. But anyway, I know a couple Lewis. You guys, I woke up at 5 this morning to work out. My excuses are gone. You want to know how to get rid of excuses? I got some things that can help you out. It's called NLP. But that's what I teach. Now, by the way, I always love to share and give back. So Lewis, you have prompted me to share and to give something back to you guys. So first of all, how do you take action towards your goals? One, find your purpose. Get a greater level of control over your purpose, who you are meant to be. There's going to be an email that's sent out to you within a short amount of time after this webinar where you can get a free downloadable MP3 that's a nice induction to help you get closer to your purpose. For those of you that want to shed yourself of some baggage and get more at effect, if you're not able to make it to one of our trainings, we're going to do a huge discount on our Empowering Your Life CD set. It's going to be by MP3. You can download it, listen to it. Lewis, when I was 235 pounds, I had every excuse. I wanted to sleep in. I wanted to go to bed late. You name it. When my fear, my anger, my sadness, my guilt, when all of those things were gone and I was fully empowered, and I woke up this morning at 5 a.m. Even though I landed super late last night, I woke up and I worked out chest and back today. Amazing workout. I'm thrilled that I was able to do it. I didn't used to be able to do that. I practice what I teach, Lewis. So one way is shed yourself of the baggage. And for those of you that can make it to one of our upcoming events, I'm going to be in San Jose in February. That's in 2 weeks. Next week. Next week is San Jose, and the week after I'm in San Diego. Oh, I love San Diego. San Diego is such an awesome city. San Jose is too. For those of you in San Jose, I'm bagging on one or the other. Any city that starts with an S. Wait, but I love Portland too. That's a P. But anyway, I'm making jokes now at this point. So I've been going for about an hour. It's 5:58 over here. I didn't get to all of your questions. I apologize for that. And God, a ton of you are on here. That is so awesome. One last thing right here. It's okay. Call it a San Hoser. What did you say, Taya? What is it? A San Hoser? I don't even know. That's a joke. That's not even a question. Okay. I answered as many questions as possible. Any other important questions? I'm going to scroll through here, see if there's anything I can answer on Facebook. Thank you all so much for spending the hour with me. I really do appreciate it. We had somewhere around 175 people, I think, at one point on this webinar, and what an amazing group. For those of you that I'm seeing in one of the upcoming events, I look forward to seeing you there. Our NLP scholarship events, if you click on the Living Social link, are only $97. Really minimal investment for a $4,000 training. So for those of you that are going to see me there, come up and tell me you saw me on this webinar. Give you a big hug, get to say hi. And I'm going to go hang out with my daughter now and grill some chicken, have a wonderful dinner. And thank you all for being on here. We say in Hawaii, aloha, a hui ho. Class dismissed. Love you all. Until next time, take care and goodbye.
Are you there? Can you hear me, Matt? Hello, hello, hello. Hmm.